What's up, guys? This is your boy, the modern day outlaw, the second generation stud, Ron Bass Jr., and this is the Dave Dynasty Show.
The Midwest supporting, bruiser loving, positivity spreading, world's most dangerous podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty as he supports and promotes Midwest pro wrestling. Keep on growing with the Midwest Express. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
Welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. I'm your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining us. And here we are. We're trying to get back to a normal schedule. So now we're kind of semi-normal, right? We've always been a little bit weird, so we won't call it weird. But we're trying to get back to our regular weekly schedule. And this is our first step, right? We have a good show today. We have the modern day outlaw, Ron Bass Jr. on the show today. And, I really love second generation wrestlers. I always have, ever since I was a kid watching. There was just something cool about someone who, following in their father or mother's footsteps, was second generation. That's just a very cool, have that legacy and that lineage. And Ron Bass Jr. has that. His father, of course, the outlaw Ron Bass, who, most of you, or a lot of you will greatly remember for being the guy that, used the spurs on Brutus the Barber Beefcake, getting the big WWF X over the screen. I remember that as I was a kid. But Ron Bass had a great career in the Mid-Atlantic area and everywhere else in Florida, all over the place. Had a really great career. And his son is now diving out there and starting the career of his own. So you're going to hear all about him today. You're going to dig it. It's a good episode, good interview. My co-host, the roving reporter, Ike Isaacs, conducts that interview for us. My schedule's just been crazy. I mean, you would think with everything, I'm working from home and whatever else, it would be calmer, but man, it's just nuts. I mean, work's been crazy. I've had this wild schedule, lots of other things going on. Man, it's pretty crazy. So, like I said, I'm trying to get back to this, a regular schedule here on the show. So hopefully we can do that. So that's it. That's all I got for the introduction. I'm really not going to touch on anything else because we got a great interview for you here with Ron Bass Jr. Let's take a break, hear from our sponsor, and when we come back, you'll have that interview with Ron Bass Jr., so stick around. Valentine's Day is upon us, fellas, so make sure that you're ready for wherever the night may take you. Our friends at Manscaped, the global leaders in men's below-the-waist grooming, are here to tell you that you need to use the best tools for the job so that you can be ready for anything on that special day. 2 million men are already trusting Manscaped products to groom, so make sure that you're one of them. Your girl can't think of what to get you this year? Tell her to get you the gift that's for you and for her. The best way to get started is with the Manscaped Perfect Package 3.0, full of the best products to keep you looking, smelling, and feeling nice. The Perfect Package 3.0 is led by the revolutionary third-generation Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer, which has advanced skin-safe technology and features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. It's also waterproof, which prevents a mess on the bathroom floor and in the sink, especially when it's time for Cupid to shoot his arrow. Also included is a pair of Manscaped boxers, plus the Crop Preserver, the Crop Reviver, and the new Manscaped Refined Cologne. So, go to manscaped.com, place your order now for the Perfect Package 2.0. Use the code Dynasty20 and get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com using the code Dynasty20. That is DYNASTY20. Happy Valentine's Day from Manscaped and the Dave Dynasty Show.
And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. I'm your co-host, Ike Isaacs. And today, guys, we are joined by the modern-day outlaw, Ron Bass Jr. How are you doing today?
I'm good, my man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm loving it. I'm enjoying the new year, if you will. I'm hopefully, I don't know where you're located, but it's snowing a lot over here, so it's pretty damn cold.
Let me pop open my weather real quick, and I'll give you a. It's a nice 79 degrees where I'm at right now, so I'm chilling. I'm hanging out, man.
Oh, I am incredibly jealous. It is right now. It is a firm 36 degrees outside with a winter storm warning as it continues to snow. So,
yikes!
So I wish I was where you were. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and jump right into this. So Ron, your father is
Yes.
Outlaw Ron Bass. Obviously, we can draw some pretty clear, connections between that name and your name. But tell us a little bit what it was like growing up with Outlaw Ron Bass as your father.
I mean, it really wasn't anything different for the first like part of my childhood. I was just like having having a normal dad, because my dad had already retired from wrestling by the time I was born. So it was just like having a normal dad, and then eventually like my dad started getting calls for like, oh yeah, I want to do a radio interview with you, and then he started getting back in shape and whatnot, and just doing like reunion shows and stuff, and then things kind of picked up to where it's like, oh hey, Dad, you got a show this weekend? Can I come with you? Which was kind of like a cool thing as a teenager. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that actually kind of leads well into the next question. Is like you said, during the first part of your life, he had retired. So before he kind of got back into the gig and doing reunion shows and all of that. Did he talk about his career much, and did he have like fond memories to talk to you about?
Oh, all the time. I mean, he had a drawer in his room full of just VHS tapes. So I used to just on the weekends that I would go to my dad's, I used to just I'd go into his room and just pick a tape like, hey Dad, can we watch this today? And be like, yeah, sure. And then he would tell me all the stories about the different guys, and the stories also really picked up the more I got this, like once I started meeting his friends at like shows and whatnot. So because then I'd ask, hey, how's so and so, and he'd be like, oh yeah, they're good. I remember this time, and then he would just go on his tangent. He'd go on his story tangents,
No, absolutely, and I'm sure he had a plenty to tell, of course. So then I guess that kind of rolls into a good next section here is, with wrestling, of course, we all have our first memories of wrestling. I in my household, we had a lot of people who loved wrestling. We even had people who participated in the business, and same thing with your household. So I feel like it's kind of a unique situation when you have people who are in the business. But what would you say is like your first memory of wrestling?
Do you want just first memory in general, or first memory of like watching TV wrestling, like watching like just in general? Well, then it's probably it's championship wrestling from Florida. Like that's kind of inadvertently what I grew up watching. Like it's what was on the tapes. I mean, if we're not talking about like the old tapes that are related to my dad, my earliest memories are like Ruthless Aggression era wrestling.
Of course.
Like with John, I remember John Cena's debut vividly. I remember the SmackDown 6. Like that's like my go-to. I remember it's real sporadic until I become like a young adult, like my early time. So like, don't ask me how I remember this, but I remember Billy and Chuck's wedding. I remember Teddy Long's wedding.
Yep.
Like it's real random. I remember Teddy Long making everything a tag team match, or everybody had to wrestle the Undertaker.
Yeah.
And the reason though I have so many SmackDown memories is because when I was a kid I had a bedtime. Like most kids, I had a bedtime, so I couldn't stay up and watch Monday Night Raw. But SmackDown growing up originally for me was on Fridays. So it was like, oh, I don't have a bedtime it's the weekend. I'm gonna watch wrestling, so I'd watch SmackDown.
Absolutely. No, I would agree. That was something that's definitely what I remember the most too, is SmackDown. That because like you said, when you're younger, especially, you got to go to bed by whatever time. But Friday night SmackDown, it's the weekend. Your parents let you stay up. You can watch the SmackDown. Yep, I 100% remember that. And Teddy Long has a very interesting part of my memory.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He has a very certain corner of my memory when it comes to wrestling.
Same.
Which is hilarious.
Absolutely the same.
But so obviously, you have a lot of background with wrestling even before you stepped into the ring. But when was it that you decided that, hey, I want to follow my father's footsteps, and I want to stop being a fan, and I want to be part of it? When did you make that transition, and what kind of made you do that?
So spoiler alert for anybody that doesn't pay attention. My dad passed away in 2017. And I kind of went through a really bad, obviously, when your hero, your idol passes away, especially when he's your father. I kind of just I spiraled for a long time. I was in a real bad place, and then it was honestly just an out of nowhere. I woke up one morning and was like, "Hey, get your shit together." I should have probably asked if I could cuss. I apologize. My bad. My bad. It was like, "Hey, just get up and get your stuff together." So I emailed the school here in Tampa, the Lethal Academy. Shout out to Jay Lethal and David Mercury, my trainers. They're the best. They're the best. The best school in this area, and then arguably in Florida, I would say. Like hands down, I think they're the best, but I'm biased. And sure enough, and here in Tampa, they do these. They host these quarterly like Legends lunches. They call them the Legends Luncheon. It's ran by like Killer B. Brian Blair. I don't know if that's a name that rings a bell for you.
It does, but I have a hard time placing it.
It's all good. No, it's all good. So Killer B. Brian Blair. He runs these luncheons, and a bunch of guys that were all wrestled all over that reside in Florida now and wrestled in Florida come, like Ricky Santana, the Cuban Assassin, Haku, Hector Guerrero shows up from time to time, Jerry Briscoe, old school names, super old school names. But my dad used to attend these, and when he passed away, I kept attending them, out of respect for him. My dad, we used to always go to them together. And then it was funny that the day that I emailed the school, I showed up at the luncheon because they also allow like current Florida talent, like and Florida wrestlers to come in and meet everybody and hang out and just like a good brotherhood time, like kind of like making connections on like a friendship level. And one of my trainer, David Mercury, was at that one. Before he became my trainer, and someone introduced me to him. He's like, "Oh yeah, he's the other trainer at the school. Meet him." And then I just meeting him and hearing about him and hearing like the way they do things at the school, I was ready. And that email and that confirmation to sign up to train was the fall of 2018, and then I started January of 2019.
Wow. So that was. You're like, yeah, okay, let's do this. Let's get rocking and rolling. And also to answer your previous question, feel free to curse. That's absolutely fine.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I'm terrible. I'm terrible. I'm a cowboy I'm an outlaw. Like when it comes to my language, I'm terrible. But so if I'm good, then all right.
You're perfectly fine. But no,
cool.
But it's very interesting. How that just attending those luncheons kind of eventually pushed you into hey, let's get in the ring. Let's do this.
It was literally I woke up on a Friday morning. It was just I woke up in the Friday morning. I looked at myself in the mirror, and it was like, hey, get it together. Let's go. It's now or never. So.
And that and that's sometimes what you got to do. You got to get that click moment where you're like, okay, let's like you say, let's get my shit together. Let's go. And but that being said, when you did start wrestling and you eventually formulated, because obviously for everybody who obviously I hope everybody knows this, but when you wrestle, it's definitely part of it is having that training, having that athleticism, but there's also like a level of like creation that goes into it. You have to be able to kind of create a persona, create a name. And of course, you had a very fantastic basis to do that.
Yeah.
You took on your dad's name and became Ron Bass Jr.
Yeah.
But was that always your plan, or did you have other identities, if you will, that you were going to work with before?
No, this for me. Especially now that my dad is gone, this is my easiest way for me to pay my respects to him through my wrestling.
Right.
And it also just made the most sense, Because like from just a wrestling standpoint, it sounds good. Like Ron Bass Jr. just rolls, It rolls off the tongue. It sounds real nice and easy. It's not hard to forget. But also it's immediately recognizable. Oh, Junior, this guy had a dad, which then draws traffic to who my father was, which then explains, and then people can learn about me that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's definitely, there's no better way to immortalize somebody is to honor their name and continuing the craft.
And that's exactly what I wanted to do. It just made the most sense to me. It was a no-brainer.
Right.
Even before.
No, absolutely. And, and that makes perfect sense. But that being said, when you did decide to go that route and you wrestled, do you feel pressure with who your dad was and kind of that legacy, or do you see it more of as like a more motivation?
I did it first.
Yeah.
When I first debuted and I was training and I really did feel an immense pressure. But and then eventually I realized, like, at the end of the day, like, yeah, I am my father's son. But my wrestling is still, at the end of the day, my wrestling. And as long as I'm doing what I enjoy, I really don't care what other people have to say about the pressures of being who I am. So I'm good now.
No,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's one of those things where you kind of can't worry about it. You just have to understand that, you're proud of what you're doing and you're providing a craft and you're immortalizing him, but you're also immortalizing yourself. So definitely, I understand where you're going with that. But that being said, obviously we live in a very crazy world now, and continuing to wrestle in this day and age, I'm sure has been a challenge. So
it's been rough. It's been rough. Like, I was in stride. I debuted in a tag team. We debuted in 2019, like September, and we were hitting strides, brother. We were working and we were moving, like working every month. Like we were for two young guys that barely in the business 6 months, we were rocking and rolling. And then the world fell apart. Let's call a spade a spade. The world fucking fell apart. And luckily there have been some places that have been like running still that I've been able to safely be a part of. I'm sorry I cut you off. I'm guessing you were going to ask about where I've been working.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where have you been working? Because that's perfect transition.
Yeah, I've worked a couple of different places. There's a couple places that are currently a little bit redacted.
Right.
Like I can't. It's hard to get into without like completely burying people, because I don't want to do that. Everyone deserves a chance at redemption. It's just a place I won't work anymore.
Right. No, I understand.
Really the place that really kind of set me off and like got me some recognition, at least a little bit on the internet, was Punk Pro Wrestling, which is a promotion here down in run in Florida, kind of in our Tri-County Tampa area. They really set me apart because my first match for them was John Davis.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, I walked into the building because they did like a tapings deal. So they taped a bunch of things, and I walked in, and I got my shorts on, I've got my knee pads on, I'm getting ready just to get in the ring and roll around a little bit, warm up. They didn't tell me who I'm wrestling at this point. And then they did it in blocks, and they're announcing the matches for first block, and they go, oh yeah, and the final match of block 1 is Ron Bass Jr. versus John Davis, and the whole room just went silent. Not in a bad way, but it was like a ooh.
Right.
And then a buddy of mine, Zach Cooper, just looks up. He looks at John, looks at me, and goes, "Hell yeah, I'm here for that shit." And then everyone just popped. And John and I had a good match. He made me look like a star for 5 minutes. We had a quick little 5-minute match, but that's what happens because I'm the young boy in that match. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not like a seasoned veteran yet where he'll go 10 minutes. He should be able to beat me in 5 minutes because I'm I don't have that experience. But that got me a little bit of traction. There's a promotion here called Generation Championship Wrestling. They've graciously put me on a bunch of times. I actually I worked for them last night, actually, down here in a place called Arcadia. But I wasn't a wrestler. I was a ring announcer.
A jack of all trades, if you will.
Look, man, one of the guys that is a part of the staff on that show is a wrestler down here named the Captain Aaron Nova. He's one of my best friends in the entire world, so I will literally do anything for him to succeed. So if that means I show up at his show, he's got nothing for me, and then when I realize he doesn't have a ring announcer, and I go, Nova, you need a ring announcer, and he's like, fuck it, we'll do it live. And I got to be his ring announcer. Let's see, where else have I wrestled? Knockout Wrestling is another promotion down here that we've had the opportunity to wrestle for. I know I'm gonna miss a bunch of people. My home promotion just ran the show for the first time since COVID, called Tampa Bay Pro Wrestling. They are the promotion that is run directly out of the school.
Okay, yeah.
So basically, when like guys from the school are making like their debut somewhere, they make it at Tampa Bay Pro. Local Pro Wrestling, that's another one down here. They run like near Orlando. I'm sure there's more that I'm missing, but those are like the most recent.
Oh yeah,
those are absolutely all the most recent.
No, absolutely, yeah. You know, like you said, it's kind of a crazy world we live in. So you know, I'm definitely glad to hear that you're still being able to get out there and, you know, get yourself in front of crowds. You know, yep. I'm very glad to hear that, of course.
And then coming up, I've got Paradigm. Shout out to Paradigm Pro Wrestling for reaching out and taking the chance on a kid from Florida. I had a talk with somebody, a guy that rode with me last night. You know, making towns with the boys. I've noticed that it's a lot harder for guys from Florida to get out to like the Midwest and those areas than guys from those areas to come to Florida. So I gotta show love to Paradigm for being willing to take a chance on the kid on me from Florida, because Florida doesn't have the best reputation just as a state.
Yeah. So I love Florida news. I love the Florida man meme that goes around, like the crazy shit that people do.
Oh yeah, I'll scroll through Facebook and just I'll be like, oh, okay, what kind of crazy shit's on the timeline today? Like, what's this week's news story? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Who's the next guy who's, you know, eating or doing bath salts or whatever it was that they did back
then? Or what kind of crazy shit did some guy do with an alligator this time? Like,
right. That's hilarious. Florida's a wild place. I love Florida, though. Don't get me wrong. Florida's a wild place, but I love Florida. So I gotta ask a couple more here, but you know, it's good to hear that you're definitely continuing to work, getting your face out there. You know, you're definitely being able to expand as well. Especially,
I'm trying, man.
And that's all you can do, especially during COVID. All you can do is try. I mean, truthfully. But,
absolutely.
But for your wrestling style, you know, you kind of seem to mesh like an old school style, I should say, with some new school flavor. Yep. Was this when you were kind of, you know, figuring out what you wanted to do? Was that what you intended to do, or is that something that formulated over time?
Yeah, that was always the original plan. I wanted it to be clear that I'm not just your typical old school big dumb cowboy. I can work, I can wrestle, I can do things that guys like me shouldn't do. Right. You know what I mean? Like yeah, I'm down for like my finish, for example, is that clothesline from hell. It's just a big old nasty lariat. But I've got the ability to give you any kind of suplex I want, you know, even really intricate like a Tazplex or like a T-bone or things like that. And it's just kind of, you got to match with the times as well. Everyone likes a good throwback, but everyone still wants modern wrestling, and they want that mix nowadays, is what I've come to realize. Traditionally it started out with all these vets telling me, hey man, you got to be fully old school, you know, like just punch and kick, throw punches and kicks, do that, like be a tough brawler. Well, you can be a tough brawler and still mix it up a little bit. Like, for example, what kind of cowboy outlaw throws European uppercuts that'll take your head off?
Right.
Oh, I do, because they're effective. The goal for a wrestling match is to win, right? The goal for a match is to win. I'm gonna do whatever I have to. So if it's old school, if it's new school, let's make it work.
Absolutely, and you know, that's actually a really interesting conversation that I've had with a lot of folks, is sort of that pressure, because you know, the old school is typically who's teaching the new school, so it's sort of an interesting conversation of sort of that pressure from the previous generation to kind of uphold what they used to do, rather than, you know, kind of submitting to the new school. And Don't get
Oh,
me
for
wrong.
sure.
Both schools of thoughts are great, and they have their positives and their negatives. But
For
it's
sure.
definitely interesting to kind of hear that.
The thing is my other trainer, David Mercury, his biggest thing was, especially for me, because I am a second generation wrestler and I have this old school look and this old school feel, is, yeah, man, go ahead and do some of that old school stuff. Like, take that old school stuff and draw it into what you do, but make it your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, if you're gonna, like, for me, like, I like to everybody, I gotta pay respects to, like, the guys that I call my uncles, like Uncle Dusty. Like, I throw a couple Dusty jabs in there, but I end it with a headbutt instead of the elbow. Things like that. Like, I gotta do things that pay my respects to the past and to my people, but also it's like, oh no, that's Ron Bass Jr. That's just he's not ripping off Dusty Rhodes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And especially as somebody, who is continuing to push forward in the industry, you kind of have to be able to make a name for yourself, including with your body of work. So certainly,
exactly,
like you said, pay homage, but make it your own.
Absolutely.
But the next segment I kind of want to get into with you is, obviously we've talked a lot about your past, your present, and a little bit about what you're doing in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to know some stuff about you. Who is Ron Bass Jr. outside of the ring? So first things first, what's one thing most fans don't know about you?
Well, I'm going to start with, I'm one big goofy sumbitch. I'm going to start with that. That's who Ron Bass is. Ron Bass Jr. is outside of the ring. I'm one big goofy SOB. One thing that they might not know about me is I'm a gamer. Like most guys in this generation that are kind of like in my mid-20s age. Like, I like to play games. I got three things. I'm an anime kid. I love it. I can't help it. Anime and comic books, those are just, I love them. I love to collect them. I have a small I don't have like a big crazy collection, but I have a small collection of just the stuff I like. Video games, and this one's kind of on brand with Ron Bass Jr. as the wrestler, but I'm a very good line dancer. I grew there was a country bar. There's a country bar here in Tampa called the Dallas Bull. It's infamous in Tampa. There was the old Dallas Bull before they tore it down and built the new one that, like, my dad and his friends used to go party at in the 80s. It's like a Tampa staple. And every Thursday night from when I was 19 until I turned 21 was ladies' night, and my boys and I used to go and try to learn how to line dance, but also pick up girls. So we became good at line dancing, and even sometimes, like, some Saturdays now to this day, I'll go up there. Like, if I get done with a show early enough, and I get home early enough, the Dallas Bull's 6 minutes from my current apartment.
So you're just right around the corner, ready to go line dance.
I'm right around the corner for a drink and a good time. That's my place.
That is amazing.
That one's on brand, but also
right.
No one would think of, oh, big old Ronnie Bass, he likes to dance. Oh, I love to dance. I think actually I'm a better swing dancer, like traditional, like the old school 50 style swing dancing, than I am a line dancer. That's that one. That would shock some people.
I was gonna say, I every time I talk to people, especially some younger wrestlers, I usually hear the gaming, some other stuff like that, but I don't think I've ever heard the line dancing. But I gotta ask, just because as a fellow mid-20s, I guess millennial.
Of course.
I gotta ask, what game are you playing right now, and also what's your favorite anime? Because I love anime too, so I have to ask.
for me, it's just, I don't really have a favorite game, because I'm all about playing games with my friends.
Right.
You know what I mean? I have some solo games that I'll play every once in a while, but if I'm gaming, it's because I'm playing with my boys. Or in this case, I have guys and girls that I'm friends with that I play with. So, like, it really just depends. Like, the other night, just for shits and giggles, my friends and I loaded up PUBG.
Oh man, that's old school. Old school player unknown battleground, right?
Yeah, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which hasn't been a thing in like 2 years.
Right. I say old school, but it's only been a couple years.
No, it's only been a couple years, but it hasn't been. It feels like that's just how games progress. Like nowadays, is if you can't stay relevant, like even Fortnite. Like we played the shit out of Fortnite. I won't even lie to you. That was just the hot game at the time, and now they're adding all these like really cool skins and like bundles and stuff because cosmetic. Everybody loves cosmetics in video games nowadays, but they're adding all these super cool things, but it's all too late. Like Fortnite, like a lot of people are just past Fortnite. Like they added Master Chief, they added the Mandalorian. They've got Predator now, Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe. Like literally, they just signed a big deal with somebody, but it doesn't matter. Like I'm sure they're still making their money. They're not losing money, but like for me, like I'm just like meh.
They're not as explosive as they were a couple of years ago when everybody and their mother was playing Fortnite and doing the Fortnite dances on YouTube, and
exactly.
Nowadays it's all Warzone or
for me it's Warzone, Warzone Zombies from the new Black Ops.
Yeah, Cold War.
Apex Legends. It's all battle royales, and then this one's gonna throw you. This one will throw some people that are into games. League of Legends.
Okay, yeah.
And fun fact, I've been playing League of Legends for almost 10 years.
It's weird to think that it's been around that long, but yeah.
The summer of 2011 is when I started playing that game.
My brothers, they play League of Legends. I never really got into League of Legends personally, but some folks, I definitely commend the dedication to learn how to play it. Because from what I've heard, it's sort of a learning curve when it comes to playing League of Legends for sure.
Yeah, but that's like any game. That's like trying to pick stuff like picking up that kind of stuff is like trying to pick up Dungeons and Dragons for the first time.
Yeah,
it takes a couple games, but with the right people showing you how to play, you'll be fine.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and of course I also have to ask. What your favorite animators or what anime it is you're watching now?
Obviously as a kid I started with Dragon Ball Z, and I started with Dragon Ball Z in an anime called Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh yeah, I know Yu Yu Hakusho.
It's that's a classic. Yeah, that's my favorite of all time is Yu Yu Hakusho.
I was gonna say that's Yusuke Urameshi and like the spirit power, like it's like all spirit energy and stuff like that. The spirit
detective spirit energy stuff. Yes, that's my all time favorite. I haven't really picked up a new anime in a while. The most recent one that I finished was a Seven Deadly Sins. It's a Netflix special.
Yeah.
Like it's based out of Japan, and they have like obviously the books and the manga and whatnot, but they just put out season 4, and I'm a big fan of that.
Very cool, yeah. So I've seen a lot of people say a lot of good stuff about Seven Deadly Sins.
Seven's really good. It takes a minute to get into, but it's really really good. I have a really bad habit of starting shows that are way too long.
Oh yeah.
Like multiple seasons. Like I tried to watch Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah.
But I'm so scatterbrained. I also like for non-anime stuff, I'm into Supernatural.
Oh yeah.
So
all 40 seasons.
Supernatural has like 15 seasons, and I'm in like season 6. Like I'm just really bad. I'm really bad about that. Another old school anime that I was into was Inuyasha.
Yeah, Inuyasha's a good one.
Yeah, that's like a classic. What about you? What are you watching? What are you playing? I want to know. Curious.
Okay. Well, I think I've talked about this before on a couple other episodes for people who are listening, so they may have already heard this. But for you, I will inform you of my wonderful taste. I'm kidding. I dig horror games, so I play a lot of like Resident Evil, Silent Hill. I've been playing a lot of Ghost of Tsushima lately. It's the PlayStation game about samurais.
Yeah. Have you played Dead by Daylight?
Oh yeah, of course. Oh yeah. Dead by Daylight's amazing. I haven't picked that up actually in a while. I know they brought out a bunch of different horror characters lately. Yeah. So like, I know they brought like Pyramid Head in not too long ago.
Oh yeah.
So
my tag team partner is really into that game.
It's pretty fun.
Shout out to Daniel Starling, the Darling Star. That's my boy, another one of my best friends in wrestling. Love that man. I watched him play one night. I was at his apartment and we were watching him play, and he's good. He's stupid good at a game that I don't know how you can be good at.
It's very hard. So I definitely commend him, because first and foremost, that game is so hard to be good at, but it's a lot of fun to play even if you die.
That's what I've heard.
And then anime-wise, Dragon Ball Z. I love Dragon Ball Z. I have a very, as an adult, I should not like Dragon Ball Z the amount that I do. Like I have all the seasons of it on DVD.
Nice.
I'm collecting the Dragon Ball Super now, but
let me ask you a controversial question.
Okay.
I'm gonna do the interviewing for a second.
No, you're good.
How do you claim GT? Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
I like GT, but no, it's not canon.
I like GT, but we don't claim it. That's what I like to hear. Okay.
I dig it because it's Dragon Ball Z. I dig it, but it is not canon. And honestly, the fandom, and I don't care who hears this and hates me for it, but the fandom for GT is so horrible and toxic.
Is it really?
Oh my God.
I didn't even know it existed.
There is a whole group of people on the internet, and I shit you not, who say if you like Super over GT, then you're garbage. That's like their whole gimmick. That Super's so amazing. I just can't. I don't see how you couldn't like Super. The most recent arc that they just finished was like the Battle of the Universe or whatever it was.
I remember that. I never saw how it ended.
Neither have I, because I'm trying to collect like the DVDs and watch them as I collect them.
The last thing I saw was when Goku. How much have you seen? I don't want to spoil anything for you.
I'm like towards the end of because during the battle of all the universes, they're like fighting Jiren right now, if I remember right.
Okay. Well, Goku does this thing and just.
Well, yeah. Ultra
Goku
Instinct, right?
Yeah. That okay? Yeah. So you do know that? Yeah. That's the last thing I saw was when he first turned Ultra Instinct, and then I haven't watched it.
Because he absorbs the Spirit Bomb and then turns on Ultra Instinct. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of around when I stopped watching it. Last time I watched it, actually. But yeah, Dragon Ball Z is amazing. And for people who are interested in Dragon Ball Z, it's actually all of it's on Hulu right now, if I'm not mistaken. So you might have to watch it with ads.
That's fine. Luckily,
and then I also recently caught up. Go ahead.
No. I'm saying luckily we've got good brothers that that let me use their Hulu account. So I don't have the ads. They have the premium.
Oh, ad free. Beautiful. But no, and I also recently finished Attack on Titan. That's pretty gory, more horror related.
I've heard it's so good, and I want to get into it real bad, but
you got to have time. You got to be able to sit down and watch them all, because I've watched a bunch of it before, and then I stopped watching it, and then you have to go back and watch it, and it's just the whole thing.
Yeah.
But all right. So for people who are watching the show for wrestling related stuff, I guess we should get back to that.
That's fine.
But,
yeah.
But so if you guys, let's see where we were at. Okay. So of course, it's good to know what the wrestler's like outside of the ring, because wrestling's so fantastic, so amazing. But it's also good to be able to take a step away from it and kind of learn about the interests that you have outside of the ring, which is always amazing.
Of course.
But sort of to kind of wrap up on all of this is, we know that with the unique situation that we're in right now, especially with, COVID and everything else, wrestling is so interesting, and, you're working your way around it, you're navigating the ins and outs of it. But what are what kind of achievements are you aiming for in 2021? What can we kind of expect out of you this year?
That's a loaded question.
It really is.
Honestly, people are gonna think I'm crazy for what I'm about to say. Is I just want to my biggest goal for 2021 is just to leave wrestling better than when I want to leave a promotion better than when I got there.
Yeah.
So like this was like another big conversation I had last night. Because like if you look at wrestling in the Midwest and like the wrestling community on Twitter, it's like Florida is its own like little bubble, and then everyone else rides like everyone else looks out for one another everywhere else. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I my biggest goal really is I want to get Florida on that same level with everyone else. Like I want to make Florida wrestling better. Whether that's helping build a promotion, not like my own personal promotion, but I mean like any promotion I'm part of, helping them, like whether it's bringing talent to their shows, because there's a lot of good guys in Florida that don't get looked at because they're in Florida. And I firmly believe that's a thing. I mean, I know I might just be paranoid. And again, I think it's because there's a big in Florida there's this really toxic mindset of you get these trainers, these guys that didn't do anything in wrestling, or maybe they were a job guy in the Fed in the 80s and 90s, that then became trainers that passed on this toxic mindset to their students, who then go out and then don't make it anywhere, and then they become trainers and pass on this toxic mindset to their students, and it carries over and over and over. So when those Florida guys get opportunities and they go to these shows and they either A, shit the bed, or B, have this terrible attitude that's like, oh, but we don't want to use Florida guys anymore.
Right.
Because that happens in Florida with Florida promotions. So if it's happening here, I know it's happening out there to us. You know what I mean? So I want to elevate Florida wrestling. That's like that. If there was anything, but like forget about traveling to different promotions and championships, because obviously that's the cliche answer. I want to do all of that, you know. Like I want to make my travels to the Midwest a monthly thing. Like I don't want Paradigm to be a one and done. I want to go everywhere. But like if there's anything that I could say that I want to do that's not your typical wrestle here, wrestle there, win championships in all these places, is I want to elevate Florida wrestling. And that's my biggest goal, is elevating Florida wrestling and elevating my people. You know, I'm going to be a little selfish, like my friends, like the guy, but I want to elevate them because I know they're good enough to be elevated, not just because they're my friends. You know what I mean?
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah, you know, and that's honestly, that's a very unique like thought process, because you know I've talked to a lot of different people from, you know, all over the world, you know, people from Florida, you know, people who wrestled in Florida, and I've actually heard very similar sentiments from other people who say like, you know, yeah, you know, it's tough to move out of Florida, or it's tough to do that, you know, and so it's very interesting. I honestly would be very interested to talk to more people from Florida to kind of see like, is that something that everybody feels, you know?
I wouldn't I don't speak for everyone, but just as a young man who is very observant. I talk a lot, I cut up and I have a good time, but I'm very observant of everything that goes on around me in wrestling, in life, and everything. And just from the 2 years between training and now, since I started training and now that I've been in wrestling, I've also got a different sense for wrestling, though, to be fair. You know, like wrestling, I've been around wrestling my entire life. So it's growing up and now being an observant adult, like that's what I've observed. But hearing you say that you've heard similar experiences from other Florida guys or other guys that work in Florida kind of makes sense.
It does. It's sort of like when the puzzle pieces kind of fit together. So
yeah,
you know, I guess if any folks from Florida are listening, let's get our shit together.
Let's get it together, y'all. Like for real. Drop your egos. Put your egos aside. Everyone, not just Florida wrestlers, but anyone. Yeah. Fucking put your egos aside and like let's work together. Like let's make it happen.
Hey, especially right now with how crazy shit is, you can't afford not to work together. I mean, you know, even normally, even beyond that, it's right now is so crazy that everybody just needs to you know, wind it in, take a deep breath, and realize that, you know, we got to get our shit together. Yeah. Well, so, Ron, it's been a great time talking to you.
Thanks,
We
man.
had a
It
lot
was
of fun.
fun.
Yeah, we got to cover a lot of different topics, everything from, wrestling to anime, which is always a fun segue.
I always think it's crazy that someone thinks I'm worth enough to fucking talk to. So thank you. Like,
of course.
Like I ain't shit yet. Like I really ain't shit yet. I'm just a second gen kid from Florida that's just trying to do best by his last name, because the way I was raised, at the end of the day, a man's only worth his last name and his word. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to make both of those worth something.
No, absolutely, and I definitely agree, and obviously, me and Dave, we always look for people to do interviews with, and obviously you piqued our interest for some reason, so we definitely appreciate you, and we appreciate you giving us the time of day to talk about stuff and have these conversations. But
Anytime,
I also do
man.
want to give you a moment to kind of share all of your but I want to give you the moment to share like your social media, tell everybody where they can find you, because especially right now, they need to know where they can find you.
Easiest place to find me is on Instagram and Twitter. That is where I'm the most active. I don't have a fan page on Facebook. I just don't see the point. It sounds crazy, but like I have. Well, no. Let me explain that, because I have my personal Facebook.
Right.
But my life. Everyone that has known me, and that all the guys I'm friends with on Facebook know how ingrained I am in wrestling. I'm gonna share on my personal Facebook, and I'm gonna have a higher exposure to like my wrestling through my personal Facebook, not a fan page. Does that make sense? If that makes any sense.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Like,
And
because of the friend thing, and I have so many friends already that share my stuff and will stop and at least watch my things. There's more exposure there than a fan page that might get 100 likes, but won't get as much of a reach as my personal Facebook. But I won't give out my personal Facebook until I've met you in person, or like an interview like this, for example.
Right. No, absolutely. I don't blame you. I have folks who add me too all the time on Facebook from the show, and they're just like, I'm like, I don't really know, man.
I don't know you. It's like, yeah, I don't. But Instagram and Twitter is real simple. It's at Ron Bass Jr. RONBASSJR. That's nice and easy. For anybody that are some Florida listeners, I've got shows coming up if you want to come check them out. February 13th, the Love of Wrestling Generation Championship Wrestling happening in Sanford, Florida. Head to their page to look it out. Grind Time Wrestling, February 20th. I'm wrestling a guy from the Midwest, actually, who just moved down here, named Freddie Hudson. That's going to be that's Sarasota, Florida, February 20th. And then February 26th and 27th, that's the big weekend. That's where we find out if Ronnie Bass can cut the mustard, and find out if he's got what it takes to hang with guys in the Midwest. Is where I'll be at Paradigm for their tapings for the UWFI Contenders, where I wrestle the man himself, Big Beef, Gnarls Garvin. And if you're not familiar with UWFI, it's these really fancy technical rules that Big Beef and I are going to throw out the window. We're not going to Beef and I aren't going to grapple. We're not going to like do submissions or anything like that. Beef and I are going to beat the shit out of each other. there's no way to put it. Big Beef, Gnarls Garvin, and I. The easiest way to describe Beef, if you've ever watched him wrestle, is he's punk rock Stan Hansen.
Punk rock Stan Hansen.
He's punk rock Stan Hansen, man. Beef and I are going to beat the shit out of each other, and I hope Beef understands that I have absolutely nothing to lose. And that's a dangerous mindset for a man to go into a fight. So,
damn straight.
Check out, keep up with my socials for promos and the updates. But like I said, at Ron Bass Jr. on Twitter and Instagram. If you go on Twitter and you see the handle David Hasselhoff, that's me.
Right on. So, folks who are listening, if you're not following him, you're definitely missing out. All of the work that he's done so far and the work that he's going to be doing soon sounds absolutely incredible. I'm definitely going to have to check out that match between you, and you said the gent's name was Big Beef.
He goes by Big Beef. His name is Gnarls Garvin.
Gnarls Garvin, Big Beef. All right.
Big Beef, Gnarls Garvin.
I'm gonna have to check that out, and hope everybody else who's listening right now goes and checks that match out, because it sounds absolutely incredible. But all right, folks, you guys know what to do now. Follow him on social media. Make sure you support him. Of course, we want to support everybody in independent wrestling, because we're trying to make independent wrestling a better place, putting the positivity back in pro wrestling, as
Absolutely.
Dave Dynasty says. But thank you again, Ron. We definitely appreciate you
man.
coming on here.
If you are looking for the best books, DVDs, and posters on classic wrestling nostalgia, then you want to visit crowbarpress.com. There are literally dozens of titles there, including biographies of the likes of Bruiser Brody, Ole Anderson, Ivan Koloff, and of course, Dick the Bruiser, as we've spoke about here on the Dave Dynasty Show. You want to visit crowbarpress.com for all of your classic wrestling nostalgia needs. Again, that is crowbarpress.com. All right, and there you have it. The interview with Ron Bass Jr., the modern day outlaw. Thanks to Ike for conducting that interview for me here on the show. So go check out Ron Bass Jr. out there. Go follow him in all the social media outlets he mentioned in the interview. Buy a shirt from him, buy whatever he's got out there. And if you ever, if we ever get to running shows regularly, and you have the opportunity to go to a show where Ron Bass Jr. is wrestling, then go out and check him out, support him, tell him you heard about him here on the Dave Dynasty Show. He'll appreciate that. He's a good dude. Thanks for coming on, Ron. We do appreciate that. Next week, well, hopefully next week. Let's say next episode, right? Again, trying to get back on a regular schedule, but let's don't lock me into anything right now. Next episode, we plan to have Vinnie Berry on the show, author of Lance by Chance, the biography on Lance Von Erich. It's a very interesting story, great book. I've been trying to get with Vinny for a long time now to get something scheduled, and just stuff keeps coming up. And it's on me. We're going to get this hammered out. We're going to get this interview done. But we got lots of great shows coming up. We're going to have more episodes of the Ring a Ding Dong Dandy Stampede Wrestling Podcast. And I've got a couple other great guests coming on. One of my favorite things is wrestling books. So I got a couple other guests to talk about some books that they were a part of or wrote. So got some great stuff coming up. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Make sure you support us, whether it be just following us on social media, sharing the podcast when it's coming out there, or any financial contributions that you want to make. Just go to paypal.me/TheDaveDynasty. Throw us a few bucks. Anything helps. It helps keeps the show free and operating. But yeah, just thanks for your support, man. And thanks for your positivity and for doing what you do. Everybody stay safe out there. Keep your mind on straight. I know this is a crazy world right now, but don't be part of the wackiness. Just keep your mind straight, walk the path, be safe, and man, just be nice and care for others. It's not that damn hard. Just do it. So anyway, until we talk next time, and wherever you go and whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.